Good evening. Welcome to the 5-8, where we discuss each of the week's 5 most fucked up topics for 8 minutes. 5 topics, 8 minutes, 2 hosts, a guest, some singing, a lot of curse words, and as many cocktails as we deem necessary. LB, how are you?
I'm good. Drinking my water. Drinking my water. How are you doing? You're having your Manhattan?
This is the last show of the year, I think.
It is, I know, because days fall on weird. We've got holidays on. Yeah,
we'll be back on January 2nd, which I think that's the Friday. But
I think that's the Friday.
Yeah, but otherwise we've got the channel will be dark. For this time we're gonna do holiday things.
Yeah,
I thought I wanted to do this at the beginning and sort of redact myself.
Oh yeah, let's redact ourselves. Redaction. Full transparency. Full transparency. God, what a joke.
It's such a joke.
There are some images. I'm seeing some images trickle through that we haven't seen before. One with Jeffrey Epstein in bed, smiling at the camera. God knows who's taking the picture, with what looks like a toddler's legs off to the side. So I'd love to see hear what Megyn Kelly has to say about that.
Oh, I'm going to say one thing about Jeffrey Epstein. In addition to all the other stuff about him that we know and loathe, he is a terrible photographer. These are terrible pictures. Just the composition and he sucks. It's awful. I can't believe we have to waste our collective time looking at this crap. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later.
I have a little game that I wanted to play here at the beginning. Okay. This is a heavy show, kind of. It's a heavy show a little bit. We got a lot of heavy things to discuss.
Okay.
I wanted to start off with something a little bit lighter, just to kind of a festive Christmas mood,
Okay. I'm ready.
So as we know, Trump is trying to change the name of the Kennedy Center to the, the Trump Kennedy Center, which he's, by the way, not allowed to do under, U.S. law. Not that anyone pays any attention to that.
Not that that stops anyone.
So who voted on this were members of the board of the Kennedy Center. Now, this is the game. I'm going to read. I have 10 names on this list. I'm going to read the names. You tell me yes or no. They are a member of the board of the Kennedy Center.
Oh, I'm so unprepared for this game.
Good.
I don't know. I don't know any of the
That's
names.
That's why it's fun. Okay.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Number 1.
Because I don't care about this, but let's go.
Okay. Number 1, Sergio Gore. Remember him? Uh-oh, Sergio.
No.
Wrong. He is. Number 2, Rick Grinnell.
Yes,
Rick Grinnell. You got that one. Okay. Number 3, Maria Bartiromo.
Yes.
Correct. Number 4, Ivan Boesky.
No.
Right. He's actually dead.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wait, I can't.
This is easier than I thought, because I know who some of these people
Number
are.
5, Usha Vance.
Yes.
Correct. Number 6, Caitlyn Jenner.
Yes.
Wrong. Caitlyn Jenner is not. I know. Very, very.
I would have thought.
No. Number 7, Mark Epstein.
No. Unfortunately.
Number 8, Dan Scavino.
Yes, he's got to.
Correct. Dan Scavino is there.
His own little Nazi lay. Yeah.
Number 9, Les Wexner.
No.
Correct. Number 10, Paulo Zampoli.
Gotta be.
Correct. Good call. Good call. I was trying to trick you.
No,
Mark Epstein,
that's such a mobbed up name. It's gotta be on there.
I know. Yeah. No, he's there. That said, you did a good job with that.
Oh, good. I did a good job. Knowing nothing and caring even less. Don't care. Sorry, folks. I know a lot of people care about this. To me, it's just his bullshit. And I just don't care about his bullshit.
The next guy that comes along, or woman, hopefully, in the White House, all these name things are going to be. That's going to be the first thing we do. They're going to find volunteers to do it. People will march on Washington demanding to help remove his name from everything.
Wait till he starts decorating the Kennedy Center. Let's see the decor.
I think we know what the decor is going to look like. I don't think that's much of a much of a surprise.
From that fancy lady, Donald J. Trump.
All right. Shall we begin? We hit the topics.
Sure. Oh, let me hit the thing. Yep. Let's
One-
go and get to our guest, but hang on. I don't know what happened. Oh no, everybody. I'm a little smart. Here we go. There we are. We're going. All right. What's our first topic?
First topic is called the passivity of hope.
Oh.
And you had a lot of thoughts about this.
I did, and they're
today.
all gone out of my brain now
They're all
because
gone out of your brain
spend
now.
them, and my brain is full of Swiss cheese holes. Yeah, I just I've expressed this so many times with on the show and with the audience in the last, I don't know, 6 months or so of, even my thing at the end of we're going to get through this feels misplaced. I feel like this whole hanging our hats on hope and the sort of beating drum of the importance of hope is also misplaced. And not to just be dark and cynical, it feels like the American society is, we have a concept of hope that is very passive. Like, oh, don't lose hope. We got to have hope. And it just as if something's going to happen and show up if we just keep hoping.
Usually an old white Republican.
Yeah. Like Merrick Garland.
Mm-hmm.
What a great job that guy did.
Yeah.
And so I just, I was struck this week by Jack Smith and his tenacity. That's sort of what we need, everyone to have that. Not hope, but just this steadfastness, which a lot of people do, and I appreciate it, especially people who resisted. And for him, his clarity. But also he has something that we all don't have and we need, which is the law.
Yes.
And the facts and the evidence of what this president and his administration and his enablers, and to a certain effect, if you count in all of the January 6ers and all the people that he pardons and the sort of, sort of a gaggle within his base, this real criminality here. Donald Trump's a criminal.
Yes.
And he's not a small criminal. And it's not just about the rule of law as our Constitution and and no one's above the law. It's not just that. It's that what the legal pursuit, I want to say more accurately, of criminality when it comes to the halls of power and men and women in the position of power, people that we entrust as a society to not just uphold and our laws, but actually to be stewards of our nation. We give them our vote, we give them our trust, we give them our money, our tax dollars, to then support, build up, direct, lead, steward our government for our benefit, based on laws. And they take oaths that they will do all of that and all of this. So when that's just desecrated and violated, when the very purpose and intent of the men and women in power is to annihilate our free and democratic processes so that they can run rampant with their criminality, most of it about accumulating mass sums of wealth, but certainly hoarding resources and power so that there is never a relinquishing of that power. Still to this day, and he means it, Donald Trump is speaking regularly and consulting with people like Alan Dershowitz in the Epstein files about a third term and justifying a third term. He's not leaving office.
No.
And what Jack Smith has the proof of, the undeniable proof of, is that he also intended to stay in office when we elected him out of office in 2020 by force.
Mm-hmm.
That when that failed and he did end up having to leave, he took classified documents intentionally and has mentioned 3 times that he sold them with the intent to sell, if not the success of selling him. Because of the corruption in the courts down in Florida, and to protect and enable this president and cover up his crimes by Eileen Cannon, or whatever, however you say her name. Aileen. We never got to see that evidence. We need to see it and hear it. It's very, very, very important that he be judged and that it's broadcast and we know about it. It's the same way that in the impeachment trial in the Senate, we didn't get the truth out of that either. And we didn't get a resolution, but at least some things did happen. But, at least some things were presented. With the January 6th Commission, we got to hear a lot of that evidence, but it wasn't carried forward in our press the way it needed to be. So all of this is happening. I'm thinking about all of this and the misplacement of this sort of hope. And I just kept feeling like, okay, we're just not to hope yet. We're not there yet. That's actually something that has a very specific purpose and place in time. Once the American people have a shared understanding, knowledge, and reality around the facts of the criminality of this president, so that we can choose what to do about it. So many Americans have no clue. Yeah. Bill Barr came out in front of Mueller and lied and said there is no there when it comes to the Russia stuff. And then that was all, bungled by Mueller in terms of not the investigation into it, although they didn't go into the money, which they should have, but the articulation to the American people of what happened with that election, what happened, so that it could just be propagandized, warped, spun into this whole thing, right? And covered up and called a hoax, and it's gone. Jeffrey Epstein, we're facing the same thing now, just today. Redaction. Mm-hmm. This is the most incompetent group, the most incompetent clown show ever in terms of their ability to do the jobs for which they were elected and entrusted by the American people to do, and approved by the Senate if they're in the cabinet, whatever their position may be from the Oval Office on down. There is no greater group of incompetence ever, I think, ever gathered in the history of any nation, especially this great nation of ours, as complicated and difficult as those jobs are. We even had Don Bongino whining and complaining before he quit that I got to do a job. I got to sit in an office. It's hard. Because he doesn't get to just spew propaganda and nonsense and bullshit and whatever thoughts and farts he has that pass through his body into a mic onto a YouTube channel, which is how he was making money. He actually had a real job in the real world with tremendous responsibility at the FBI, where there was an expectation that but the people that worked for him, that he knew how to execute his duties in that position, which he did not know how to do because he was unqualified, because he's incompetent. And yet they're able to pull off all of these cover-ups because they're able to just lie, distract, not release. It's a big sort of fuck you, so what? Make us do it. We're not going to do it. We'll tell you we're going to do it. We'll say we're going to do it, then we won't do it, or we'll redact it. And what are you going to do about it? This is what's, Jack Smith, okay, come, but you're going to go do behind closed doors. We're never going to let the American people hear about this. All of this insanity. It's real madness to keep the facts and the truth of the criminality of this president, from whether it's the alleged raping of young girls to what he was indicted for and the grand juries came back for, of stealing classified documents, apparently selling them, to fomenting an insurrection, a grand scheme to steal an election by pressuring a fake elector scheme. All of this crimes everywhere you look, just being, covered up, shoved over, blah, 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 blah. Right? It's unbelievable that these clowns are getting away with this. So there's no hope yet, everybody. We're not too hope. We need our Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We need our Nuremberg trials. I watched that film, Nuremberg. I was completely taken by two things. Russell Crowe is back as an actor. Wow. Fantastic. Film's uneven, but Michael Shannon plays the Supreme Court Justice who was the lead prosecutor for the United States when it came to those in international court. The same international court that Jack Smith later on, decades later, came out of, right? So you kind of understand why his understanding of how important it is that the American people hear what happened and have the facts and the evidence presented in front of them. So Michael Shannon gives this pretty verbatim, but a much truncated version of the opening statement given by the character he played in real life at the Nuremberg trials. And basically it boils down to, you have to use the law. You have to hold these men to account for the sake of the world, for the sake of humanity. And they need their day in court as well. But that's the process, and the only process through which we can work this out, because there needs to be a collective understanding of the facts of what happened. The attack on reality that the Trump administration began in its first term and continued since, that is malevolent. It's intentional.
It was the first thing that they did. Sean Spicer lying about the crowd size, which seemed very innocuous at the time. And that's when Kellyanne Conway said alternate facts.
Alternative facts.
That's what she was talking about, not specific.
That has been the priority. The propaganda, the mouthpieces, all of the lieutenants out in social media, all the information terrorists out there just weaponizing facts, twisting and turning. So I know we want to get to our guests, and I'm going a little long. I just feel like this is so important. Once we have that, and until we have that, if we get it, we need to fight for that. That is when hope comes in, because the hope that we will have then, that we need to hold out for one another, our fellow citizens, and our shared moment in history, is that we'll then make the right choice as a people.
Right.
A choice will be presented to us that we can take, and we will take it. I don't know. Even with all of that, I don't know. I think it will pierce the veil. The people who are his marks, those citizens, we need them in this shared reality based on the facts. And the one thing, I think the reason why, keep Jack Smith from telling anybody everything, because they know that the propaganda can't spin it enough. Once people realize, and the Epstein thing is so, so important. This is important too. So, this delay, don't release it, lie about it, say other things about it, focus the attention over here, anything but having people see the evidence of what Donald and Epstein did together. That once people realize, wait a minute, this is about Trump. What's his base, I should say? This is about Trump. Trump was his best friend. Trump was his running buddy. Trump was the guy that he did all this stuff. Like, what? Trump is in these files? Once that becomes what we need, a Jack Smith, we need someone to stand up and help people frame and understand it. It's why the Watergate trials were so important as well, because you have to have the individuals that can then connect the dots, because people then, they're in a state of shock. They're kind of going, whoa, they're trying to absorb the information, and they need a process through which they are led to understand what it means. What does it mean that for 10 years, they've been hearing about Jeffrey Epstein, and there's been this huge push and massive information dumping and controlling and narratives coming at them about connecting Epstein to the Democrats. What does it mean that that was all bullshit, that was accuse the other, that was propaganda to warp them? If they did that, if they accused the other when it came to Epstein, then that's the playbook, and you're the mark.
Yep.
And as soon as the mark can see that they are the mark and they understand how it works, oh, this is how it works. You inundate my Facebook, you inundate the Fox, you use Fox News, you do all this stuff to say the other is the one that's responsible, to point for something that, in fact, Trump is guilty of, then all of those dots will connect. Well, what else has he been accusing people of?
Yeah.
That's been radicalizing us. Oh, a rigged election. Maybe we should look at that. So that's the threat of actually having a forum, but we need to demand a forum. We need truth and reconciliation. We're going to need it. We're going to need our Nuremberg. We're going to need this. And we need the people who hold the facts and the truth, right? I'm so sorrowful that Merrick Garland was such a dud. I'm so sorrowful that Bob Mueller couldn't, that the Democrats didn't put together the appropriate forum for him. You know, remember the Nadler and the 5-minute things, and we got to move on to the topics. And,
oh God,
you know, and they didn't poll people who could talk about the obstruction of justice because Mueller was so clearly focused on the Russia stuff. So the ball has been fumbled. It's been Lucy with the football a couple of times here. And we've got to get it right. We've got to get it right. And then hope. We can talk about hope.
I remember writing in 2016, right after he won, once people realize how bad he is and how much he's stealing from them, they will turn on him. And I still think that's true. I just think, like you said, people don't realize it.
They don't know. They still don't understand that they're paying the tariff.
No, they
don't know that.
It's ridiculous. So
yeah.
All right, so we're going to pivot a little bit because I can do the second topic anyway with our guest, but you know, on the topic of
sorry, I went a little long. But
horrible grifts, you know, and plunder. You know, there's a Melania movie out. It's coming.
Here we go again. This work can be too much for people.
They tell us what to do and we do it. That's how it works.
Russian spies. What if?
It's hard. It's life.
We have no choice. One day it will all come crashing down.
We have to get them out.
It's not over.
They're onto us.
We're from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. In case you can't tell from our suits.
Loyalty can be used.
Do they think any of us have been exposed?
You're still alive. That's a good sign.
Is there anything I should know?
I guess you never really know a person, do you?
They're not Americans. They're Russian spies.
Something doesn't feel right.
Hi, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Учили наши.
I did not. Yeah, I will see it on the news.
Just getting done what I need to get done.
That affects us, the Americans.
There we go. Okay, just so people understand what's going on. That's the actual. Well, for the most part, it's the actual video of the trailer. It's a real movie called Melania. It's coming out in January in theaters. Brett Ratner directed it, and I've laid over the audio for season 4 of The Americans, which is the show about, you know, the Russian spies living in America. So that's what that is. Anyway, that's it. That's what we got. And it fit perfectly. I did edit in Putin. You
did edit in Putin.
Yeah, that was actually Donald talking, but I like Putin's voice. But I'm going to say Putin has a nicer speaking voice than Donald does.
Oh my God.
I like it better. Okay. Our guest is a professor of economic sociology at Dartmouth College. She's a wealth manager. Well, sort of. She's a wealth manager. She is an advisor to the EU and the OECD, and she's the author of several books, including Capital Without Borders and Offshore. Brooke Harrington, how are you?
Hi, Brooke Harrington.
I'm so happy to be here as a longtime follower of your guys on Twitter. I refuse to call it the other name.
Yeah.
Way back in the day, and now on other social media. So to actually see you face to face and be able to talk with you is such a thrill and an honor.
Oh, well, we feel the same. We're so happy to have you tonight on our last show of 2025. Maybe we can start with that a little bit. What are your sort of top of mind 2025 thoughts, if I could throw that your way?
I was listening to you talk, use the word desecration, which I think it's a word that I think about a lot these days because it precisely describes the sense of something being defiled, but not just something sacred like a religious object, but elements of our secular religion. The White House, the whole East Wing has been amputated. It's like somebody cut off one of the arms of the Statue of Liberty. The Rose Garden being flattened and now turned into a private club. And this thing with the Kennedy Center, this pathetic vandalism of the Kennedy Center. I think these public acts of desecration are part of this phenomenon that Greg and I talked about a couple weeks ago, what I called the competitive depravity Olympics as a status competition among elites. And Donald Trump is right now the world champion because he's so public about it. I'm sure there are even more depraved members of his set, but they keep it more on the down low. But Trump is proud of it, and he wants to show off, like one of those troubled kids you meet in elementary school who's like, want to see me pull the wings off a fly, or, want to see me kick a puppy. Everyone's met people like that at some point in their education, right? Usually young, and you can tell that something's really, really wrong with them. Maybe something's bad at home, but they seek attention by doing horrific things. And the ratchet only goes up. They just keep doing increasingly depraved things. And it's for an audience of people who have an appetite for that, which seem to be other powerful men. Epstein seems to be the nexus of organizing that. And, they could have had sex with women. They had that opportunity. I mean, look at the kind of women that Henry Kissinger managed to pull. Yeah. There's an ugly little troll of a man and a war criminal to boot. Yeah. But he could have any woman he wanted. So Donald Trump could have had any woman he wanted to have sex with, if probably. Epstein too. But no, they specifically targeted children. Why? To show off to each other. Look what I can get away with. That's the currency of their realm.
Oh.
I think it was Kissinger who said power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. I think that was his quote, right?
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah. So what do you make of all the Epstein file stuff being released? Because it's coming out in these weird tranches, and today was just a joke. This file release, but the images that House oversight, the oversight Dems have put out there, while a lot fewer in number, seem to be pretty interesting in some respects. Looking at all this stuff, what are your thoughts on it?
It's very reminiscent of the Nixon tapes with their missing minutes, except it's so much more clumsy and ham-handed, and as Stephanie said, just like flamboyantly incompetent. Like that's the whole thing about these people, is they're not just quietly incompetent, they're flamboyantly, flamingly incompetent and proud of it.
Yeah, it's part of this. It's part of the jeer. It's part of the troll. It's part of what it's the kink. There is a pornography to Donald that oozes out of him. It's in all of the ways he talks pornographically.
Yeah,
He's
remember that speech he gave in Trump 1 to the Boy Scouts?
the Boy Scouts, and talking about Arnold Palmer, and like it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot
He
about
can't
that.
help himself. And folks that knew him before, Noel Kassler, who was around him a lot, would describe about how he would get in these group phone calls and chats with these other men, powerful men that he knew, and they would just be like, "Oh God!" Like the guy, he didn't know how to not really go there. And from some of what was released and some of what people talked about, that was the core of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It was just they just talked about sex, and it was like a competitive of how debased and gross and disgusting can we be. We could there's video of us seeing some of that happening when they were at that party. He says something, Donald says something to Epstein that blows his mind. And he just starts laughing because he's like, "Oh wow, too far even for me." And then he put that down in later in life in recordings with Michael Wolff and Steve Bannon, saying, "This guy is the worst, of all the people, he's the worst." And that's coming from the biggest sex trafficker of children that's history has recorded, certainly, and legally understanding that that's what he was. So, yeah. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she was in the grip of that cult, the cult responds to the pornography as well. It's just the debasement of it. It's like, yes, it's attracting this sort of and pulling out this sort of psychopathy out of people. That's just, it's just appalling. Steve Bannon, just before we came on air, was at Turning Point, the Charlie Kirk thing, right? So that crowd that just watched their guy get assassinated and made sure anybody that made fun of that or jeered or celebrated or anything just sort of said
suggested maybe he was a hateful
Nazi. He put his own words out there that they didn't think that was appropriate, got those people fired. Steve Bannon stood on the stage tonight, and because there's violence is pornographic as well, right? And debased Rob Reiner, and they all cheered and jeered and
no.
Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with. That's what Donald pulls out of people. It's the tone.
You're making me think of those images of Kristi Noem posing in front of those caged men.
Yeah.
That they sent to torture prison in El Salvador.
Yeah.
Just the sense and the weird ASMR videos of shackled people that, we have no idea whether they're guilty or innocent of anything because they haven't been given any due process. They've just been rounded up, shackled, thrown on like extraordinary rendition flights and sent off to God knows where.
Yeah.
And they're not ashamed of it. They're celebrating.
They're aroused by it.
Oh God, these people are just, take a moral shower.
Yes.
I was watching, I'd never seen the Katie Johnson video before. Katie Johnson being the woman who, when she was 13, was, allegedly raped by Trump. And she was talking about a lot of...
Wait, hang on, just because you press over that. People don't know.
Yeah.
Katie Johnson is a woman who before, when Trump was running the first time, went on the record, it came out and said that when I was 13, I was raped by Donald Trump at Jeffrey Epstein's, was it his house or something?
Yeah.
This is what she alleged, with another girl as well that went missing. And the other girl was Maria something. Was that correct? Yeah.
So
okay, go ahead.
This is from, I think, February of 2016. This is recorded. And she filed suit in California and then withdrew that to file it in New York, and then withdrew that, I think, after he won, and she got frightened for her life. But there's talk of how he behaved at these things. And there was a lot of voyeurism there, which tracks with the stuff that they showed in the movie, the Apprentice movie, with him at the Roy Cohn parties and all this. Like he was around all of this pornographic stuff a lot, apparently, allegedly. And some of the stuff she said, again, in 2016 early, talks about his racism. You mentioned Maria, who was 12 at the time. She was Hispanic, and they wanted to do a fantasy scene where they were maids, like
The girls
making
were
up,
maids.
making up his hotel room, and then he burst in on them and did whatever he was doing. And one of the things he kept saying was, I'm going to call INS on you. I'm going to get you deported, and using racial slurs and all this stuff, which is nothing has changed. That was in 1990.
This is what she was saying.
This is what Trump was saying allegedly to these girls.
This is what she was saying back in 2016 about what he said back in
1990, whatever.
Whatever.
A long time ago. So
yeah.
I just thought that was, to put a, to characterize how he was in that setting. And
that's his fantasy.
You can't have the competitive depravity Olympics if you don't have an audience. People don't figure skate by themselves at home. It's not a thing that happens. So you have to have the judges giving you the perfect 10.
Right.
Or
that's why they call it conspicuous consumption. In this case, it's conspicuous consumption of girls' bodies.
Oh God. And
it's very dark. Okay.
It's very, very dark. I want to ask you, because I was going to talk about this Edge thing, this Edge Foundation thing in the second topic, right? So one of the things
I went long. Sorry.
That's fine.
Sorry.
The tranche of photos that is 19 photos enough to be a tranche. I just like saying the word tranche. The tranche of photos that came out last week from Oversight Dems shows a lot of pictures of people at this event put on by the Edge Foundation, which is run by this guy named John Brockman, who is a bigwig literary agent for all of these scientists and tech people, and anybody in that world generally has him as a literary agent. He's apparently a very good, powerful literary agent. Now he's retired and his son has the agency, whatever. But he put on these foundation events and these so-called billionaire dinners. And those photos were taken at one of these events. So when you saw David Brooks and you saw all of the Musk and Bezos and all these, it's a way of, he got all his clients together, which is not something literary agents generally do. And then he got all these billionaires together and all these tech people together, all in the same small space. And he did this every year, pretty much all the time. And Epstein, come to find out, was financing the whole thing, pretty much. Just, allegedly, I think. But it was written about by Yevgeny Morozov in the New Republic years ago, who also has Brockman as his agent, right? But he wrote about all this because he was appalled by it, that Epstein might have been founding this, but it was a way for Epstein to get in with this group of people that he otherwise wouldn't have access to. And a friend of mine who asked to remain nameless wrote this today. And this is the question, because I want to get your thoughts on this specifically. He said, looking back at big tech in the last 20 years, there's a tiny circle of influential people, hugely concentrated around the PayPal mafia. The amount of capital allowed them to pick winners in this thing. So if you had 3 different companies that were all doing the same thing, they would say, this is the guy. It was never the woman. This is the guy, right? This is the guy. They'd decide who would get, money from the next round of insanely amounts of capital. And he proposed, and I think this is interesting, CEO psychopathy clearly was a highlight of what they were looking for. And Elby talks, it ties in with something you've said for a long time, which is Larry Summers was there when Zuckerberg, he's in the fucking movie. He's actually in the movie.
He is.
It's actually him. I think Peter Thiel is too. But anyway, what do you think about that idea of that these rich people, these are picking CEOs just based on how corrupt and, kind of
how controlled they can be. Yeah.
Or anything to do with those. Yeah.
I would go farther than that and say that the bonding agent among all these men is misogyny. It's very specifically misogyny. It's bros before hoes with, fancy dressing on it. And I say that not just as an external observer, but based on my brief, year and a half, 2 years working in the Silicon Valley and seeing up close what startup culture was like. I worked for, among other things, a little graphic design software company. They made 3D rendering software. They got bought up by Adobe shortly thereafter. This was more than 30 years ago. And I would routinely have men just in casual conversation, always engineers who thought very highly of their superior intelligence, not unlike someone like Jeffrey Epstein, whom if you read his emails. Dude couldn't spell
Yeah.
a third grade word to save his life. He was a moron. And that didn't stop him from, thinking he was literally gifting the world his semen and trying to start a breeding ranch in New Mexico to impregnate up to 20 women at a time. This was covered in the New York Times, and people don't believe me when I tell them this, but Elon Musk is trying to follow in his footsteps. His whole inseminate the choice females thing is something I was hearing 35 years ago from the most scrungly little gnomish dudes you can possibly imagine, who would just casually drop to early 20s me. Yes, we here in the Valley compete to acquire the most desirable females and impregnate them. And I thought he was joking. I mean, if you have to imagine someone who looked a little bit like Bilbo Baggins if he'd taken up crack cocaine and lived under a bridge for a while. Rainbow suspenders, big pot belly, balding but with a ponytail, just not a fine specimen of humanity. You know how white supremacists always end up just looking like they got stuck together with Play-Doh by a tired 3-year-old? Yeah. That's what these genetic superiority guys in the Valley always look like.
Yeah. Geneticists are always like that. It's always the worst people, the people you would not want. You wouldn't vote to extend these people, if you were going to have a vote for that sort of thing.
And yet that, looking in the mirror doesn't seem to stop them from honestly believing, passionately believing that they are
in their superiority. Yeah.
So I saw up close that what made these men think of each other as successful or full of potential was partly their whole we're in the clubhouse, no girls allowed thing. And lots of women in the Valley have written about this, Ellen Pao, I think, who's CEO of Reddit at one point and got pushed out. She has written scathing commentary about what it's like to be a woman in leadership. But I just saw it from the absolute bottom rung of the hierarchy. And it keeps striking me that this is the thing that bonds all of these network state guys too. Do you know what the network state is?
Yes, but please tell everybody what it is.
Everybody.
So this is where the broligarchs start trying their hand at statecraft. Like many rich people, the broligarchs, the tech guys who think they've bought the White House, they believe they can do everything better than experts. So they think they can reinvent the discipline of history. Occasionally you'll get some self-satisfied 30-year-old who got rich on an IPO saying, I'm going to revolutionize history. And it's always a guy who never took a history class. But people like Peter Thiel are setting their sights even higher. They're we're going to reinvent the nation state. We're going to rebuild it around the model of the corporation. And they're actually doing it. They've bought up territories in countries that are struggling, like Honduras and El Salvador. And they bought up these chunks of land in those countries and essentially colonized them. But instead of colonizing in a name of a country or an empire, they've colonized them in the name of Peter Thiel or one of his companies. And they dress it up in a lot of highfalutin rhetoric. But basically, it's what if we had a state without democracy? What if we had absolute monarchy, except instead of a hereditary divine right of kings, we had the divine right of CEOs, who just happen to be me. And that's why you get Thiel and Musk and all that talking about their innate superiority, they're high T alpha males, and literally they're the only ones who deserve democracy. Everyone else deserves them as their not so benevolent overlords.
Yeah, serfdom. Serfdom.
Yes, techno serfdom. And it fools people because it's dressed up in technology and modernity, but it's basically the same old anti-democratic divine right of somebody that we had in the Middle Ages, and that people, including my own ancestors, died to to overthrow and to build a modern world in which, we can have democracy. We can vote for our leaders. And if we don't like them, we can throw them out every few years. What we're seeing now is a revolution of the rich against the poor. It's a counter-revolution. That's why I see, Greg, that you have my book on your shelf behind you, and
You do.
bless you. It's a,
Well, show it.
I call it an elite insurgency, and it really is, and it's masquerading as some sort of novelty and technology and modernity and advancement, but it's nothing of the sort. To go back to the Silicon Valley misogyny thing, in order to feel that you are entitled to rule because you made a big buck on an IPO, typically that happens to people who are men. And one of the only ways that you can form alliances with other men under those highly competitive dog-eat-dog circumstances is to pick a common enemy. And since many of the men in that field are themselves of different racial backgrounds, like Balaji Srinivasan, for example, who is the guy who wrote this book, The Network State, about how poor people should be pulped for biofuel to run buses in San Francisco, which he says is a joke, but we all know he means it.
He means
with
it.
all his heart. You can't really run white supremacy as the bonding agent in a racially diverse group like that. So what do? You turn on women, and you say, well, women are only good as vessels to like make more copies of me. And, that is what Elon Musk is literally doing. And who knows, probably lots more of the oligarchs are doing on the down low.
Ugh. I've been doing voice to text a lot lately, and when you say broligarch in voice to text, it comes off as a brawl, like a fight. That's how it spells it. I thought it was funny. Now you've been to the Cook Islands. There's a guy in in Sarawak? What was his name? Brooke, I think, who did this thing where he went to a different place and established. He was a pirate, I think, a privateer or whatever, and established himself as a king of this island. And I'm all for it. I think send these guys to Honduras. Just go. Take the guy that we just pardoned and go back to Honduras and have fun. Just go.
I'm up for outer space.
That too.
Just
let them colonize the solar system.
They want to do it. Go. Have at it.
Did you see that? Is it true that Marco Rubio seems to have authorized private buccaneers to be vigilantes on the high seas in the Caribbean?
I think I did read something about that.
I didn't see that.
It brings up the privateer versus now, what a privateer is historically is a pirate who has a license from the Queen of England to, basically kill all the Dutch people and steal his shit.
Yeah.
Letters of marque, I think those are called.
Letters of marque.
Letters of marque.
Yes. Yep. So
letters of Marco.
That's perfect.
Where we're at.
That's good. That's good.
That's perfect. You should post about that. But I think that is literally happening. And remember how I mentioned before, this is like a new form of colonialism.
Yeah.
And literally, they're playing all the greatest hits of the colonial era, including like let's rape and pillage the peasants. And the rape part is where Epstein comes in, and the pillage part is also part of where Epstein came in. But Trump is really for leading that charge.
Yeah.
He literally does nothing else but pillage, especially public.
He decorates.
He
has time to decorate and write and put up plaques and put words on walls. He's really into putting words on walls right now, whether it's his name on a building or a plaque or some kind of gold, font, like a really sad Houston suburb housewife with too many kids that, all she can muster with her strength is to get a, kitchen. Here's where love is. Heart is in the kitchen. And that's
live, love, laugh.
Yeah. Live, love, laugh. But he's got, he has to label. Somebody's got to label these rooms for him.
What? I think it's very good that he's getting in the habit of making signs on walls. It'll help him when he's in prison, when he's making the,
making the hash marks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope this is the hope. I shouldn't say
The hope.
but
People in the
gotta
comments are saying there's a rumor that he's in the hospital.
there's a rumor he's in the hospital. He's probably getting his treatment, right? Are we that? Is it time for the treatment?
Treatment. Yeah. Whatever.
Oh
whatever
God.
okay.
God,
So
help us.
I know. It's also crazy. So one of the things I've been reading about, so I've been way down in the Epstein rabbit hole, which is not a great, I don't recommend.
Yeah, for like 3 weeks or something.
No,
Greg.
it's longer than that. It's been a good month. I've been down here. So I encountered this guy, not in real life, but named Ian Osborne, who appears to be kind of the next Epstein, not in the sex trafficking way, but in the way of, hey, I'm a guy no one's ever heard of before. No one in the general public knows who I am. I have this really secretive investment fund that if you do business with me, you have to sign an agreement that you're not allowed to talk. It's like Fight Club as a investment vehicle. It's called Hedo Sophia, which is one letter removed from Pedo Sophia. And anyway, but this guy, he's British. He's like 35 or something, and he knows all of these people. Okay.
He's making a pathetic ancient Greek joke, or like a humanism and wisdom.
He is. Yes. Yeah. Intentionally.
Clowns.
Exactly. That is the proper response. But the way that he's moving the money now and what's happening is something called SPAC, SPAC, which, as I understand it, is a bunch of really rich people put a whole shit ton of money in a pile, and then they go and they glom on to some target corporation so they can appropriate their stock ticker symbol. And then once they have that, then they bypass all of the rules and regs to get that initially, and then they can go do weird piratical shit. But I don't quite understand it. So what is a SPAC and what does it stand for and what does it mean?
I always forget what the acronym stands for. Special
purchase. Acquisition.
Special purpose acquisition company. So it's a shell company that's listed on a stock exchange. And basically it's a big Tupperware for rich people's money. And it's like you have a secret illegal poker game. It's not really illegal, but it's shady. And you trust the guys in the poker game. And part of the agreement is you ante up by throwing a shit ton of money into that Tupperware. And then the guy who's running the table says, trust me, and then uses your cash and the cash of all the other people who have anteed up to go buy other companies that are not yet publicly listed and to try and make them profitable by making those companies public without their having to go through the IPO or initial public offering process, which is highly regulated. Mm-hmm. So even though we have kind of laughable regulations in this country, even the little that we have is still too much for a lot of shady characters. So, just to go back to someone like Peter Thiel, for example, he's using the offshore system to do like experiments on human beings that are not allowed by the Food and Drug Administration, like stuff that is wildly unethical. He goes offshore for that. Special purpose acquisition companies are also used as workarounds by rich people who want the benefit of the law. They're not anarchists. They want the law to protect their contracts and their property rights, but they don't want to be constrained by the law because that limits, in some respects, how rich they can get. They want to be unlimited on the upside, but totally protected by the government on the downside. And that's how you get things like the 2008 financial crisis, right, where all these people knowingly took insane risks with other people's money, happily pocketed their private gains. But the minute they started to lose any money, they were like, please, government, can I have some money? Or
they insured themselves against that, which you're not supposed to be able to do, and then that fell apart, right? And then it was, it's a step process of, we've got all these backups in ways that, we can make ourselves, quote unquote, too big to fail, but there'll always be a bailout for us.
Exactly. And if you remember, the original too big to fail case study was long-term capital management in the late 1990s. I'm talking the previous century now, folks. You may not remember this unless you're over 50. But long-term capital management offered the same deal as this Hedo Sophia SPAC you're talking about. And that was, I'm really smart, so you should give me tons of money, but you can't talk about it and you can't ask me what I'm going to do with it in advance. Just trust me. And in the case of long-term capital management, that company, that investment company, was run by 2 Nobel laureates and the most famous bond trader on Wall Street at the time. So people did trust them. They had incredible reputations in social capital. And they promised their investors like the kind of returns that should instantly make your internal fraud alarm go off, like 20% a year, which is double the Dow Jones Industrial Average return. So, of course, the minute their historical models went south, which they did around 1997 when the Russians stopped servicing they defaulted on their debts and the Asian tigers started doing badly, the whole long-term capital management model fell apart. And the wunderkinds were suddenly not doing so well. And instead of behaving like proper capitalists and taking their losses as they came, because the whole point of capitalism is you get paid a risk premium. This is what they teach you on day 1 of finance class. You earn profits by taking risks. The more risk you take, the more profit you're supposed to get. That's the sort of the moral logic of financial markets. It is not in the moral logic of financial markets to say, I'm going to take crazy risks with other people's money. I'm going to be reckless, and I refuse to accept any losses. I'm going to make taxpayers who have nothing to do with my decisions, I'm going to make them foot the bill to make me whole when I lose money on my reckless and stupid decisions. But I'm going to privatize and refuse to pay taxes on any profits I make from those same stupid decisions.
Because you have the offshores.
You have offshore finance. And as we see now in 2025, you can buy yourself a government. That used to happen just in developing countries. And now it's happened here, as we saw with all the oligarchs lined up in the front row of the inauguration in front of the members of the cabinet.
The ones that weren't members of the cabinet themselves. It's a lot of overlap. It's a lot of overlap. Oh my God. It's so much. It's so much. So the thing about SPAC is that's another like, do you have to go, by the way, we forgot to ask before we started, do you have a hard out? Do you have to leave anytime soon? Not that we're not going to go for much longer. But.
No, I am very happy. My only regret is that I did not prepare myself a cocktail to toast with you.
You really do need a cocktail. I just have water.
I'm jet lagged. I thought it would make me too sleepy to talk.
Oh no.
Next time.
Next time. A little something in your coffee. A little something in your coffee.
So I want to talk about this because this is just weird. We're kind of skipping to the end of the topic list here, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So it was a weird week in terms of murders, right? Because you had obviously the situation at Brown, and then the MIT professor who got basically assassinated, executed in the lobby of his apartment in Brookline, Massachusetts. So I just want to throw out factual things of these things and see. I just want to throw it out there and get thoughts. Okay. So we'll start with the MIT professor who was murdered. His name's Nuno Loureiro. He was born in 1977. He had a wife and 3 children, and he's murdered in his house, basically, by apparently the guy that also did the Brown thing, which we'll get to in a minute. So
weren't they like pals, or they were acquaintances as students, right?
They went to the same school in Portugal to study this brainiac stuff. So Nuno Loureiro is the head of MIT's Plasma Science and Fusion Center. So he's this physicist studying fusion and plasma science. And I am not a scientist. I'm going to butcher this, but my understanding of it is that that's the sort of stuff you use to create energy. He's looking for new ways of energy that are more efficient, that don't have, carbon, all that stuff. Like what we need, which is vast amounts of energy without polluting the environment, right? That's, I think, as I understand it, what he's been looking into.
Plasma is one of the states of matter now. Like if you went to school around the same time I did, when you learned in science class that matter comes in 3 forms. There's liquid, solid, and gas. But beyond that, there's also plasma. And so that's like really the frontier of discovering how like matter exists in the world and how you can manipulate it to release energy.
Migo, Brooke, Migo.
Sorry.
No. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. I wanted to throw your own quote back at you. Steph, Migo stands for my eyes glazeth over. It's
okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's who he is.
Yeah.
He's studying magnetic reconnection and fusion plasma. Okay, the killer, as you pointed out, Brooke, they're both from Portugal. They're both Portuguese nationals, come to the United States. They went to the same school. Now, this guy is the same guy who did the Brown shooting and then the MIT assassination. Now, somebody posted this, an account called Nerdy Addict on Twitter put it up here, and I haven't checked it, but I assume it's true. If you look at Brown's course planner, it shows the physics final schedule for that exact date and time when the killer came in the room that he came into. But he went to the lecture location and not the finals location. So he wound up killing the wrong people. But he was trying to kill the physics people at Brown. That's plot point number 2. So we have the MIT plasma guy. We have this guy going around killing physicists for some reason. Plot point number 3, randomly, just out of the blue, December 16th was the murder. December 18th, the Trump Media Company merges with a company called TAE.
Run by Devin Nunes, right?
Also Portuguese. Of
Oh, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
That's because he's making money hand over
Central Valley up to these days.
Trump Media merges with TAE Technologies, which is a fusion power company. Their proprietary concept is plasma physics. So what's happened is a physicist studying plasma and fusion is killed like 2 days before the Trump company merges with a company that does the exact same thing that the guy was killed for. Probably total coincidence, but really weird. That's it. I just wanted to throw it out there because these are things that happened this week and they're very strange because I'd never heard of plasma fusion or any of this stuff. And now suddenly we get it 3 times.
And I think there's like a $6 billion, there's a lot of money that changed hands around this new company of Donald's. So,
and apparently the fusion thing is years in the future and may never happen or whatever. But I don't know. Do you know anything about this plasma fusion? Anything? I don't know. Not to get conspiratorial. I just want to throw out these.
No, it's just strange. It is. It's either this big, great, big, vast, as you were saying, Brooke, new frontier, and so everyone's trying their like crypto, like you know what I mean, like before we kind of understood what crypto was. But all of a sudden people are talking about crypto and, oh my God, we got a crypto guy killing another crypto guy. And then there's a crypto company. So it could just be a big, vast arena that's new and emerging and everybody wants to play in it. That's sort of in the know. Or I don't know. I don't know what else it could be. Yeah.
It's just weird. And I needed to
can I just ask you guys both this? And Brooke, I want to hear what you have to say about it as well. But isn't this one of those things where Kash Patel came out and said, we've got the guy, like he did with Charlie Kirk? And wasn't the Brown murder, this whole thing, didn't Kash Patel why does he chime in on some of these things and with all the wrong information and kind of fuck up the investigation?
It seems like he's trying to save his job. At least from what I've read, he's kind of hanging by a thread in his current role.
Maybe.
And he's desperate for something to make him look competent instead of like a guy who like flies around at taxpayer expense to see his like JV level country singer girlfriend perform. And he wants to look like he's doing something, but from what I understand, the killer was actually identified by like a rando on Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody who went to Brown, like a guy that
Yeah.
that talked to him and was like,
Yes.
posted that on Reddit and told the FBI to, it was not, but to be fair, most things I think that the FBI solves are tips from people that were around.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, bad.
But he came out ahead of all of that and was like, we have the suspect. And then the local police had to say, no, like there's a thing between what happened in Rhode Island, the local agencies and the FBI that got really sideways on the FBI's behalf. And I believe because Kash Patel came out and got ahead of it all like he did before. It's just something's going on, that, not to be conspiratorial, but just really something's truly off. Even for an incompetent clown, you're the FBI director, and he sets his sights on very specific things, and we don't know why.
He likes publicity. I mean, I think that's part
maybe
of it.
Attention.
I think his deal is, I think you're right.
Personality disorder. Yeah.
Did you guys watch Chernobyl, the television series?
Oh, sure.
Do you remember who Dyatlov was? The guy who ran the plant and forced the engineers to do this dangerous test and basically caused the disaster. Kash Patel reminds me a bit of Dyatlov. He's just like, he's reckless. He's remorseless. He's just like me. Like Dyatlov's whole thing was, yes, I will risk the lives of the entire town of Chernobyl and everyone I work with for sure, because I want my goddamn promotion and I want it now. And I've waited long enough. And the only thing standing between me and the promotion is this test. So we're going to do it tonight. And Kash Patel, in his case, he's not looking for a promotion. He just wants to stay FBI director, I guess, so he can pull his own little Kissinger routine on his JV country singer girlfriend. Because like otherwise, come on, he's like this wall-eyed dude, wonky eye, always looks kind of alarmed at something.
It's great.
My new name for him is Pooh Bear because he's so into the honeypot, isn't he? So.
But like he's never going to get that pretty young lady to date him if he's not FBI director, if he's just like working some desk job somewhere. That's not enough for her. No. I think, we aired in this show. We should have made the entire show about the podcast on Katie Miller's podcast about them, expressing their true love, which I found it really sweet. I did not. It gave off Paul Erickson and Maria Butina singing the Beauty and the Beast song.
I miss this. Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, and
Elon Musk's employee.
Right. Oh, so with Elon, they confess their love.
No. She has apparently a podcast, and Kosh and this woman came on and talked about their relationship, and it's very hard. It's very hard, Steph. It's very hard to. It's hard to maintain a relationship when you have to go around the country in a plane.
Patel was doing this while the manhunt was on for the Brown killer. That's what he decided to do with his time.
This is my point. They have time for everything but their jobs, and yet are somehow, pulling off these cover-ups. It's just at some point the wheels are going to come off all the wagons, and there's a readiness that needs to be there. We're all off the wagon, we're all off the wagon. But I'm going to keep requesting that the moment is met with preparedness and seriousness to actually have open hearings for the American people, so that everyone can learn what actually is happening, what these people are doing.
Like South African style Truth and Reconciliation, like what they did in Guatemala after the death squads got stopped. But on top of that, I feel, to go back to your theme of desecration, I feel like there needs almost to be a national smudging ceremony or purification, because you know how the J6 rioters smeared the Capitol building in feces?
Yeah.
I feel like our whole nation has just been like frosted with feces.
Yeah.
And we need to clean ourselves spiritually. It's a weird thing to say. I've like never had this thought about a political system in my life until now, but that's how dirty and gross and defiled I feel as an American. Like I need a Silkwood shower, and my passport does too.
Well, on that note, that is the best end note we've had in a long time. I'm going to make it the end note. I need a Silkwood shower, and my passport does too. Oh, Rebecca.
This has been, this has been
good. Yeah.
Brooke, where can people find you online?
BrookeHarrington.com and on Blue Sky at EB Harrington.
Okay.
Okay. I love it. And let's show the book one more time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
This is very high tech of me.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little book. It's only 120 pages.
It's great. Everybody should read it, as I've been
Everyone
saying.
should read it. Okay. And they can get it at Amazon, all the usual places?
All the usual places. And it's been optioned for a streaming series, believe it or not. I want to tell you especially, Stephanie, because we're looking for writers. The producer is like trying to like turn it into a fictionalized series about an intrepid wealth manager.
Okay. Well, you can email me. We can talk.
I like the intrepid, wealth manager thing. This is going to be good. I like this. Yeah. Well, okay. So when we didn't do an announcement, we totally, mixed around the order this time, but that's fine. So again, this is the last episode before the holidays. It's the last one for the year. So everybody, please have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. And speaking of Christmas, I think we're going to end on this before we go to the final credits here. But we got an early Christmas present, guys.
We got an early Christmas present. It's the only way I'm making it through it.
We did.
We're going to get through it.
We're going to get through it.
Shannon, they're not quoting my friends. Those names are not included because they are false smears. I was attacked.
To be fair, there are a number of names of people. Just to be fair, there are a number of names of people who are quoted in the article.
Shannon, let me correct you.
People can read it for themselves.
This is a false smear, and let me tell you a fact, Shannon. In 2016, I was attacked as the only elected Republican from the Northeast who voted for President Trump.
Because they quote you on a radio station calling him insulting to women. Is that a misquote? Did you not say that?
I said the statement that the Democrats leaked out in 2016, that was insulting. However, Shannon, I